In this video, we're going to cover 6 ways to maximize LinkedIn for fundraising. I am super bullish about LinkedIn because relative to the other social media sites, the constituency on LinkedIn tends to be more highly educated and of a higher income bracket. In fact, it is the most utilized B2B, which is business to business lead generation platform out there. In general, people use LinkedIn for professional reasons. And so you're going to see a lot less of the other things like memes or like funny comments on LinkedIn compared to, say, a Facebook or an Instagram. So I'm going to try to convince you that LinkedIn is a place that you should be looking for prospects and board members and other supporters for your organization. And we'll walk through how to do that. In this video, we're going to talk about updating your page. We're going to talk about using your page to connect your network, how to leverage your content, and then where the rubber really hits the road is using little known search filters to do things like find new board members and volunteers and donors, and using the search filters to find prospects connected to your board members. We'll also talk about ways to use LinkedIn in order to try to get introductions into foundations that you might want to support you. So let's get started. So first and foremost, update your page. A lot of people don't think about LinkedIn when they're thinking about their social media strategy. So they'll talk about their Facebook page or they'll think about their Instagram feed. But LinkedIn is actually very critical. It tends to have an older demographic. And this is actually where most job seekers go in order to prospect for new jobs. So when you have your Facebook page, you want to make sure that it's attractive. You want to make sure that you're using a nice high quality banner ad here. Obviously, that is going to capture people's attention. You're going to want to make sure that your about page is really compelling, is in your brand voice, and accurately conveys what it is you do. The other thing that you want to make sure to do is to have everything updated, like your website, your location, and last but not least, certainly any job openings that are available at your organization, plus any testimonials that you can gather or give to people associated with the organization. The reason that you want to do all of this is imagine that your LinkedIn page is a house. In order to make that house inviting, you want to put out nice planters out front so that it looks like someone lives there. You're not going to want to go into an abandoned house. So to the extent that you can, make your LinkedIn page look like somebody lives there. Now, the next step after that is to make sure that you, on your profile, your personal profile, are LinkedIn connected to all of your board members, all of your staff members, and all of the volunteers that you know in a personal way. You also want to provide boilerplate language for your board and the staff to include on their own LinkedIn profiles. And you also want to invite your followers to like your company page. And there's a reason for all this, so I'll get into that in a second. But the reason why you want to think about having the board put down that they are board members for your organization is that it's all about people and it's all about networks. So a lot of times board members will not have really thought about their LinkedIn profile unless they've been job hunting. So what you're going to want to do is to provide information for them that they can easily plug into their profile, as well as boilerplate language for your staff members. And your staff members should absolutely list that they are staff members at your organization. For those board members who need a little bit of extra support, you can have them go to their profile page. And if you scroll down under accomplishments, there's a little plus button, and you can add organizations that you're affiliated with. So you may actually even want to do that during a board meeting so that you can answer any tech questions that come up for board members that may not be so comfortable with the technology. Then you also want to invite your connections to follow your page. Reason being that, again, we don't want to look like we're in an empty house. So to the extent that somebody is going to check you out online, they may be on LinkedIn, they're going to want to see that you have people who are following your company. So the way that you do that is if you are an admin on your profile, you have an admin page that looks like this, and you can invite connections. So personally, I have about almost 8,000 connections, and so I can invite any number of them to like my page. Obviously, not everyone's going to like your page, but it's going to be important, again, to make it look like there are people in the party. Now, when you think about why somebody would like your page or why somebody would want to link and connect with you, it's because you're providing value. So what that means is that you should be thinking about posting regularly. Every social media platform has different kinds of content that they like to consume. And so because LinkedIn is more of a professional group, any content that is professional, authoritative, establishes you as a thought leader is going to be really good content. So the point of posts or of articles is actually to start conversations with people. And so often I think in social media, we use it as a one-way megaphone. That's not how you want to be using it. You really want to be using it as a way to spark people's interest in conversation. So if you do an article, for example, that showcases your thought leadership, and again, I'll say something about thought leadership too, which is I think it's really important to be able to comment in a timely way about issues that affect your sector. So as an example, I used to run an education organization, so anytime a new ed policy came out or the New York Times covered something in education, I made sure to comment on it in LinkedIn because it establishes me as a thought leader in the field. The second thing is I also always make sure to end with a question because you want people to comment. And so when they comment, you should also spend the time to comment back. So it's not happening in just a vacuum because again, people want to know that there's somebody home. They don't want to scream into the void. And ultimately, what you're doing with social media is you're trying to establish a relationship to eventually go offline. It's not dissimilar, again, I will use a dating analogy. It's not dissimilar to using a dating app. The ultimate goal is to meet the person in real life and go on a proper date. Similarly, here on social media, the goal is to establish enough of a relationship that you compel the person to take it to the next level. So that could mean becoming a volunteer. That could mean coming to an event. That could mean making a donation. But the way that you want to use social media is the top of the funnel to even start to establish some kind of relationship. LinkedIn also likes explainer native videos. What that means is that they like videos that are expressly uploaded and filmed for LinkedIn as opposed to having it redirected to another platform because as you may remember, every platform wants to keep people on their platform. Create polls. That's a great way to engage your audience. And the other thing is, as new features get rolled out on various social media platforms, just be aware of them because they will reward you in a sense by using their new features. And so the likelihood that you'll get more attention or get pinned up higher is much better if you are one of the first early adopters to new technologies. This is not necessarily a video about LinkedIn content, but there are best practices. So definitely Google Ultimate LinkedIn Post Guide or look at this URL and see if there are some tips that you can get. The important thing here is that you should be posting at some regular basis. So, I mean, once a day feels maybe unreasonable, but certainly once a week and have it be relevant because at the end of the day, people are going to engage with you on social media when there's some sort of value exchange. Okay, let's jump to this next thing. So many of us are out here trying to find board members or skilled volunteers. And I don't know that there are a ton of nonprofits I've ever spoken to that feel like they have a really robust pipeline. So I'm going to show you how LinkedIn could be a way for you to prospect for new board members. So what you're going to want to do is log in to your personal account and click My Network. You're going to get to a page that looks like this. So you'll click on Connections, which are all the connections that you have within your network. Once you get to this search page, it looks like this. You can see I've blacked out the personal information of people in my network for privacy purposes, but you'll want to click on this thing that says Search with Filters. So you'll come to a page that looks like this. It's green, they're people, they're first degree, which are people that you're directly connected to. But you're going to want to click this thing here that says all filters. And the reason why is when you click all filters, this little pop-up comes up on the right-hand side. And it allows you to do a much deeper search. And when you are filtering, you're not only looking at people who are first degree connected to you, but if you scroll down, there is a little click button that allows you to search for people who are either interested in joining a nonprofit board or interested in pro bono consulting and volunteering. So when you click that, all of a sudden you have a list of people who you could start to engage in conversations about being in the pipeline of prospective board members because they've already indicated on their LinkedIn profile that they're interested perhaps in being on a nonprofit board. So, little known fun fact about the search filters. Let's talk about another piece. So how many of us have sat around a board table and asked board members to make a list of people that they might introduce us to? And all you got were blank stares. It's like throwing tennis balls into a vacuum cleaner. Just nothing. Got nothing. So to be fair, on the side of the board members, I think it's really hard to think about people off the top of my head. Like if you asked me to name 5 people who I might introduce to an education organization, my mind would go blank, right? It's really hard to think about on the spot. And then also, you're not necessarily thinking in kind of a network way. So I'm going to show you a way that you can use LinkedIn to help jog your board members' memories about who in their network might be a good fit for the organization. So let's go back. Again, we get to the search page. We click all filters and the filter pops up. Now, this is why it's important that you're connected to all of your board members. So let us just say that we want to connect to one of my board members, Joe Schmo. What I want to do is click add a connection. So I've covered Joe Schmo's name, but Joe Schmo's name is here. And then what I want to do is click first or second. So first degree are people that I and Joe Schmo are connected to. And second degree are people that are not connected to me, but are connected to Joe Schmo. Then I may, for example, want to filter by a geographic area. I may also perhaps want to filter by a company. And then what happens, like magic, is a list of people come up. So there are 12 people here that fit this criteria. And so what I can then do is take that list of 12 people and put it in front of my board member, Joe Schmo, and say, Joe, let's talk about each of these 12 people and whether or not they might be a good prospect for us. Now, it's so much easier for you to do the work and put names in front of them than the other way around. Because first of all, it's hard for them to remember who they actually know. And second of all, they may not necessarily want you to know who they know. And so by doing it this way, you do the legwork and you actually end up having a substantive conversation. What I will say with LinkedIn, to be fair, is sometimes LinkedIn will indicate that I know somebody that I don't really actually know. So I may be first degree connected, but I may not know them in a personal way because sometimes we just get these invitations to connect on LinkedIn. So take it with a grain of salt. But I think when you put a list of, say, 20 people in front of somebody, and you can actually have a conversation about getting introductions to, say, 5 of those people, well, those are 5 new prospects that you didn't have before. So my recommendation would be to do this with every single board member and then set aside time to actually sit and go through every single name with these board members so that you can start to build a pipeline of potential prospects in your major gift pipeline. Finally, let's talk about how to use LinkedIn to prospect for introductions to foundations. So again, we're going to use the search function. We are going to click in, let's say I'm looking for an introduction to the Ford Foundation. So I will do that by clicking all filters and doing a keyword search for the Ford Foundation. What then comes up are all of the people that I'm connected to, either first or second degree, and then I can backwards plan and try to network my way into an introduction with the person at the foundation. So these search filters are really powerful and make for a much more robust conversation than hey, who do you know? Instead of who do you know in a very vague and amorphous way, you're actually putting real names in front of people and can have real conversations. So if you like this tip and wanted more of this, consider joining my fundraising accelerator. I am committed to turning everyone in the accelerator into a fundraising beast. Also, if you've enjoyed this and you found it helpful, drop me a line. Let me know. Ria@riawong.com. Thanks so much. Happy fundraising.
I'm Julie, and I work at Cosvid, where we help nonprofits to incorporate video into their fundraising and digital communications. Today, I'm going to talk to you about why we believe video is so important for nonprofits and how you can use video to engage your donors through social media channels, including Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So today, as attendees at this nonprofit social media summit, you're probably wondering why video matters to you. And I can tell you a few reasons why video matters. Including video in an email increases click-through rates by up to 200 to 300%. And the average person will retain 95% of what they watch in a video compared to just 10% of what they read. As we know, the amount of video being consumed on the internet is growing exponentially. And we know that 82% of all internet traffic is video. Videos are 6 times more likely to be retweeted. Visitors will stay on your website an average of an extra 2 minutes after viewing a video. And in that 2 minutes, they might be enticed to actually click that donate button. 70% of Americans named online video as their preferred tool for researching a nonprofit's impact, making it second only to the organization's own website. The first platform I'll discuss today is Facebook, specifically Facebook Live videos, which in our opinion are drastically underutilized by nonprofits. Here are some stats about Facebook Live that I'll share. 1 in 5 videos on Facebook are now live, and these live videos receive 6 times more engagement than uploaded videos. Once your video ends, you're able to edit and share the recordings for people to view later that weren't able to watch when you were live. Here are some tips that we at Cosvid recommend when creating Facebook Live videos. Make sure to tag friends, partners, and sponsors to increase your reach. Be authentic and simply use your phone to create videos in real time. It's also important to remember that when you're recording videos on your phone, you hold your phone horizontally. Add a donate button to raise funds directly from your live video. Last week, one of our clients went live to share the demolition of their property. I'd like to take a minute to share a clip from the live video they streamed.
Hey brothers, Dave Willens here, class of 09, your Purple Legionnaire. We're here today at the old 99 out in the front, and we're going to see very shortly in the back they've started to take the house down, and it should take about 3 hours or so. They've been going at it for about an hour and a half. Bittersweet day, but long time coming, and hopefully we'll have a beautiful brand new facility. Most of the rear portion of the house has been taken off. That was the 1965 edition, and pretty soon they'll be starting into the original structure of the house. And the process itself has been pretty simple so far. They basically have been coming into the center of the building and then collapsing it in on itself on both sides, and then pushing the debris down into the basement area. And you see we've got a good crowd of spectators on the sidewalk, mostly undergrads and some graduates. And I want to make sure we thank all of you who have supported the campaign so far. And if you haven't, please support us so we can keep this project going and get this new house up.
What we really loved about that video was how they used it as an opportunity to steward their donors that supported their campaign. Now that we've talked about Facebook, we'll move to Instagram. And when I discuss Instagram, we'll take this in pieces. So I'll first discuss stories, then in-feed video, and live video. So with stories, you're able to upload 15-second clips that disappear after 24 hours. And you can use these to build anticipation for an upcoming event. Once this event has happened, these posts have disappeared, and you can move forward with more relevant content. You can also highlight stories to keep them active, and your followers can always go back and view that content later. You can also add links, stickers, and tag your location in Instagram stories, as well as many other interactive elements that you're able to explore in your settings menu. Next, we'll move to in-feed video, which is where you can use your built-in camera to capture video in real time and then upload, or you can upload previously recorded content. In these videos, you can include filters, locations, and captions. It's important to include captions to make sure you're being inclusive of all of your followers. Followers have the ability to like, share, and comment on your content. Finally, live videos, which we've discussed when we talked about Facebook live videos. Now we can utilize them on Instagram as well. Live videos will always appear at the front of the story bar ahead of any other story content that's been uploaded. Viewers can also comment and react in real time, allowing you to engage with them as you're creating your live stream video. While Facebook and Instagram are the most popular places where nonprofits post and share video content, I can't fail to mention YouTube, which is, as we know, the world's second largest search engine, second only to Google itself. So make sure that you have content there. We recommend creating a YouTube channel where you can upload and store video content that people then can search and find. You want to make sure that when people are searching YouTube for organizations that do what you do, you want to make sure that you're there as well. Thank you. And again, at COSVID, we help nonprofits incorporate video into their fundraising and digital communications. What I've included here is some real-world feedback from donors that have received videos from our clients that we've helped them to create. If you're interested in learning more about COSVID and how we could help you and your nonprofit, you can set up a free 30-minute consultation to discuss how you can incorporate video into your fundraising, and email me directly at julie@cosvid.com.
Welcome to 3 Ways to Power Up Your Virtual Event with Angela Pitter, founder and CEO of Livewire Collaborative. I found this business 8 years ago to help nonprofits and businesses with their online marketing to drive awareness of their organizations. And of course, the bottom line, some of my services include digital marketing assessment, where I demonstrate how to take a look at your online footprint and share the gaps and strategize a way forward. Of course, I do a lot of training, social media training, Zoom training, and virtual event production. So connect with me on LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform where I hang out the most. And you see the QR code here. You can just snapshot that and be right on my LinkedIn profile. So let's get started. We're going to talk about what happens before your event, during your event, and after event. But before we kind of launch this, we really have to go into your Zoom settings, because everything that I'm going to talk about, if your settings aren't right, you won't be able to do any of this. So we're going to go into your Zoom settings here. You're going to click on basic. You scroll down a little bit to below the chat, all that stuff there. And you're eventually going to come to this meeting survey. Make sure that is turned on, because when we talk about what happens after the event, this is going to be key. The other thing that's going to be key after the event, if you go into this advanced, you'll see this closed captioning. Make sure that's on. All of these boxes are checked, as well as saved captions is on. And finally, the during event, all of that goodie happens right here with the Zoom apps. Make sure you turn that on as well. So let's get to it now. Let's talk about what's going to happen before your event. And the key thing before the event is the branding. And how does the branding happen? So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your Zoom meeting, and you're going to make sure, the registration is turned on, because once you do that, you scroll down here under branding, you can see that you're able to now upload a background for your event. You're able to upload your logo. It has all the required dimensions here. And why is that important? Because once you do that, your attendees, when they register, they'll see the background. They will see the logo as part of the registration sign-up process. And then they get that confirmation email. And once again, the background, very lovely, as well as the logo, will be part of the registration. So the branding follows them throughout. So that's why you want to make sure you have all of that in place when you're setting up your event. Now, during the event, this is a new goodie that was introduced by Zoom during 2021, Zoom apps. And if you haven't tried them, I want you to head over to the marketplace.zoom.us. And there you're going to find, I'm going to just show you real quickly, you're going to find a whole ton of things that you can do during your Zoom event. So you can actually integrate these apps. There's collaboration apps, there's game apps, Kahoots. A lot of people were using that during the shutdown. That was a fun game to do. But if you're, doing a lot of collaboration, some of you might be using Asana. I love to use the Timer app, but the app that you're going to love the most is this Pledge app, which I'm going to show you right now. And what you're going to do is you're going to go over to pledge.com because that allows your attendees to actually donate. Yes, I said that word, donate, during your Zoom meeting. Now, you have to set it up on pledge.com. You have to verify the organization, and that verification process includes them sending you a postcard to the organization address with the code so that you can complete that process. But once you do that, now you're able to add that app into your Zoom meeting, and your attendees can then donate. You can set up the goals, as you can see here in the screenshot. The other cool thing is they have this text to donate option, which you could actually also share in the chat. So the attendees have two ways. They can donate through the Zoom, or they can actually use the text to donate option as well. And the final thing that I really like about this is once they do donate, this thank the donors background is appearing. The donors are able to add that to their background. So that really starts creating that FOMO effect when you see that popping up all over the place. So that is all about Zoom apps during your meeting. Now, the next thing you want to do is go after your event. So, you worked so hard on your event. Now you need to capture that feedback. You want to know what worked, what didn't work so well. And then, of course, repurpose it. Because once again, you spent a lot of time on this. So let's show what the events look like. So remember at the beginning of the settings, we turned on the survey. This is why, so that you can then launch the survey. But let me show you where you set that up. So you set that up within your meeting. So once you turn it on, that survey option is here. And if we go in here, it's really easy to customize. You can have single choice, multiple choice, the scale, open answers here. You can also require the questions if you want. And then you save that, right? And then once that's set up, your attendees will see the survey when the meeting ends. So when you hit end meeting, the survey launches, and then they're able to fill it out and submit it. And then you're able to review the survey results. You have to go back into your Zoom meeting. And now, as you notice here, instead of seeing the actual survey, you're going to see the responses. So you click on view responses, and that is it. So it's really a simple option, but it's a great tool to use to capture that feedback. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to repurpose your event. And there's 3 ways to do that. Remember, we turned on the live transcript again at the beginning, and that's because you get the text file to create your blog post. Zoom always generates the audio file, and you can use that to repurpose into your podcast. If you do Twitter, you could do audio tweets, so you can use it there as well. And finally, of course, use that video file to then edit it and create those promotional clips that you're going to share out on your social media. So I'm going to real quickly just do a little tutorial on live transcript and Zoom apps, because some of you may not be familiar with that. So it all shows up once you enable it. Both the live transcript and the app shows here at the bottom of your screen. You enable the auto transcription, then you'll see it at the top here that it has been enabled. The other cool thing is you could hide the subtitle if you don't want to see that. And you could also, if you want to see the full transcript as you're talking, you can see that here, and it will open the window. This is one thing you want to be aware of. If you're recording in the cloud, you need to save the transcript to get that text file, because otherwise you won't get that. You do get it automatically if you're recording on your computer, but not if you're recording in the cloud. And then finally, Zoom apps. Again, once you enable that, is here in your window. You can launch it. Once you launch it, you will see the apps that you already integrated, and then you can use that Discover tab if you want to also add other apps. So you can go to that marketplace.zoom.us that I showed earlier and activate them there, or you could literally just activate within your Zoom meeting. So those are the two ways to do that. And this is the timer app that I really love. And again, you can launch that and keep track of the time right in your meeting. So to recap, before you want to make sure your registration and the branding is all set up. During, take advantage of those Zoom apps. There's so many of them. Track time, and of course, use thepledge.com to collect those donations. And then finally, after the meeting, repurpose that video, all those 3 ways that I show you, and capture that event feedback with the survey. Turn that on. Well, thank you for joining me. I am Angela Pitter, again, founder, CEO, Livewire Collaborative. Check me out on LinkedIn. That's that QR code. Once again, take a snapshot of that and join me right there. Thank you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Facebook Challenges, the next generation in peer-to-peer fundraising. Over the next 8 minutes or so, we're going to dive quickly but deeply into this new world of Facebook peer-to-peer fundraising. It's a strategy and tactic that Susan G. Komen has been using over the last 10 months or so, since February of this year, and it's been incredible with what we've been able to do from creating communities, because in this time we've been so disconnected, living in our virtual worlds and slowly coming back together. But the need to stay connected and to give back has been a huge bonus from what we've been able to do through Facebook Challenges, on top of generating tens of thousands of leads, of warm leads, not just like, buying email addresses, but these are people that are engaged, that want to hear from us and want to be able to take them through continuing on a donor journey and seeing how they can continue to give back. And we've seen incredible results of using this. And lastly, we've raised a heck of a lot of money. I mean, major zeros. And we're still excited for what we can do to finish out this year and move on to the next. For those who haven't had a chance to meet, I'm Josh Hirsch. I'm the social content marketing manager for Susan G. Komen. And that means I get to play on social media all day. I manage our Facebook, our Twitter, our LinkedIn, our Instagram, our YouTube. And if you don't think YouTube is social media, it's a huge tool that you should certainly be using for yourselves, as it is the second largest search engine in the world. Our TikTok, and everything else under the sun that falls within those. I also work on our Instagram, our influencer program, working with our partners to create activations for them. But what I'm most excited about is our new form of digital fundraising, this new world of peer-to-peer giving. But quickly before we get into that, let's just go over Facebook fundraising by the numbers. So $5 billion. Okay, what's $5 billion? $5 billion is a total raise through Facebook fundraisers on Facebook and Instagram since 2015. Now, that's a huge amount of dollars to think about what we've been able to do over just the last 6 years. And these last 12 to 24 months, we've seen a huge uptick in humanitarian causes, in housing, and health, and food, all these basic necessities that people have needed through the pandemic. Okay, 18%. What's 18%? It's the percentage of donors worldwide who have given through Facebook giving tools. We live in our little world, but we have to realize that Facebook is everywhere. I mean, we're talking billions of users. And what we're able to see from this is that people want to give back and people care about charitable causes. $5 billion from 18% of donors worldwide. That's enormous. Okay, 64%. What's 64%? It's a percentage of total funds raised by women in 2020. And to that end, twice as many number of fundraisers created by women in 2020 and number of donations made by women in 2020. So it's important to know your audience, know who's using these tools, who's giving back on Facebook, and how are you able to create your strategy, your tactics, and your messaging for your campaigns to do this. So most of y'all, I would hope, are familiar with Facebook fundraisers. If you haven't donated to one or started your own, you're definitely in the minority, because they're everywhere. I mean, as we've seen, $5 billion have been raised over the last 6 years. And Facebook makes it so easy to not only create a Facebook fundraiser, you can do it right from your phone, or, to even give back to one. And it's through micro donations. A simple $5 or $10 support can really add up over time. But what's so great is that the tools that Facebook makes available to you, and we're continuing to see them evolve day after day. To me, being the data nerd, seeing the analytics that we're able to pull out of these reports, and we used to be scared about the kind of data that we were getting. Well, the data is getting better. We're getting email addresses. We're getting first and last names. I mean, the leads that we're getting through our ads and through our Facebook fundraising reports, it's huge. And what's most important to remember is that these people are engaged with you to begin with. So take your conversations with them outside of the Facebook fundraiser, and how can we continue to bring them on that donor constituent journey? So the way we've been doing that is through Facebook lead ads. Now, these lead ads are simple, targeted ads to people that are currently not engaged with Komen, because we want to get these challenges in front of people who aren't already engaged with us. And that was a huge goal as part of doing Facebook challenges. So here are two examples. This first one, you can see we're hitting them with the stat. Every 12 minutes, someone in the U.S. loses their life to breast cancer. Walk or run 30 miles in November to honor and support people with breast cancer. So we're giving you a physical challenge that we want you to do in a clear CTA. We're also running some video lead ads. Going, clear CTA, join the challenge. So when you click on that group sign up button there, it then brings you into the group. So clear, we know what we're doing. This is a current challenge that we're running now in November. So the lead ads launched for this about 3 weeks ago. We launched the group about 3 to 4 weeks prior to the actual launch date of our challenge. And then once you get into the group, first message you see is this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 30-mile run and walk challenge for Susan G. Komen. We're so excited to have you join us in this challenge. The money you raise will help us fund life-saving research, treatment, education, and community programs. All right, so it's clear. We know what we're doing. And you've got 3 things that we're asking you to do. The first one is we want you to get started by clicking register in the messenger. So by clicking that link, it starts you on a messenger chatbot. So we'll engage with you throughout the challenge. We'll feed you fundraising messages. We'll feed you brand mission related messages to remind you what you're doing. Simple things that you can share, put onto your timeline to get people to engage with your fundraiser. Next thing we want you to do is actually create that Facebook fundraiser. And then lastly, you're going to click done. So once you've done all of those, we know you're ready to rock. But like I was saying, what's so great about these challenges is not us. I mean, we're putting maybe about 1% of the content out. 99% of the content created is all UGC. So we're getting posts like this from Audra. We're getting posts from Melissa. We're getting posts from Ebony. And as you see, these are getting huge numbers. 223 reaction, 46 comments. We got 2,500 reach, 1,400 reach, 1,400 reach. These are just over the last few days. This post was from October 26th. But what's exciting is at the end, you're really able to put it all together and see that messaging and know that you're doing something together. And here's a little wrap-up video that we did from one of our previous challenges. So this was from our from a burpees challenge that we did earlier this year. That was a quick 8 minutes. I can't believe how quickly that went. But what you can see from Facebook challenges is it's creating an online community. It's creating constituents that you didn't currently have, and it's raising serious dollars for your organization. Thank you so much for joining me today. Feel free to connect with me online, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Thanks. Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Chris Strub, the Giving Day guy, here in the Fly the W studio in downtown Greenville, South Carolina. Before we get going, big thanks to Julia Campbell, Tim Sarantonio, everyone at Neon One, and everyone involved with the 2021 Nonprofit Social Media Summit. Now, yes, this is a pre-recorded video, but yes, I am here in the comments with you for the next 7 minutes and 35 seconds to answer any and all questions you may have about what we're going to talk about. Now, who am I? I've served a lot of different roles in the nonprofit social media marketing space, but I primarily travel the country to help produce live fundraising events. These hats behind me represent the 10 markets in 9 states where I've live streamed a Giving Day over the last 5 years. Now, over these years, I've collected a customized set of live streaming gear that I travel with that really serves my clients' needs. I carry it all in this yellow Pelican 1535 case because I can carry it onto an airplane. It is filled with cuttable foam called Trek Pack, which allows me to create a completely customizable case for my own gear. This combo is definitely an investment, but I used to just throw all my stuff in a backpack, which not only looked unprofessional, but would often damage the costly equipment I was purchasing. The case has a lifetime guarantee and it can stand up to pretty much anything. But I doubt anyone watching today will need every single thing I've collected over the years, so I hope you'll listen carefully here and consider your specific needs. This set of gear works great for me because I travel with it, but with events both going virtual and now hybrid, I've had to adjust my equipment, as I bet you have too. Now, as we get going, we're going to get a little bit fancy with the production, but I wanted to start out by saying I'm recording this whole video in one take using just an iPhone 12 Pro Max and my pair of AirPods. To get started with video, all you really need are those two elements, a camera and a microphone. But by this point, you've surely heard that from other speakers, and now you're going to hear it from me, that the one thing you really need to get going with video is confidence. Not gear, confidence. Now, I know we are here to talk about gear, but I do want to quickly mention, before we get to the gear, 3 pieces of software that I'd really encourage you to check out. First is Switcher Studio. Switcher is the platform that I use to live stream events, including Giving Days, and allows me to do cool stuff like this at a touch of a button. Switcher Studio is a paid subscription service that runs exclusively on iOS devices. It has been my secret sauce over the years because it allows me to use multiple cameras, bring in live guests, play pre-recorded videos, put in lower thirds, graphics, and images onto the screen, build in transitions, play sound effects, and much more. I'm shooting all this video through Switcher Studio, which will allow you to go live to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, or any custom RTMP solution. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial at www.tryswitcher.com. If you have a desire to stream to multiple Facebook pages at one time, you can do that internally on Facebook using cross-posting. But if you want to stream to different locations, like your Facebook page and YouTube channel simultaneously, you can use a great tool like Restream. Your nonprofit probably doesn't need its full power, but if you want to live stream to YouTube and Facebook or up to 30 other destinations at once, you can do that using Restream. Restream Studio is also a fun way to add in graphics and live guests in a fun way. In the spring, I actually hosted a live show called The Social Good Hour. I interviewed Julia Campbell on episode number 8, so you can check that out. And if you want to get started with Restream, you can go to www.tryrestream.com. Of course, the other tool I want to touch on real quick is Canva. I'm sure you've heard that over the last 2 days as well. I pay for Canva. You as a nonprofit employee get free access to Canva Pro. So, for me, paying for it, it's well worth it. For you, for free, even more so. It is awesome, and I use it to create all of my social media graphics. Now, let's get into the hardware solutions. All of these items are going to be available at www.strubstuff.com, which is my Amazon influencer page. If you use that webpage to purchase one of these items, I will receive a small commission. Just full disclosure. We got to start with the item that everybody needs. It is a tripod. I recommend the Amazon Basic 60-inch tripod. It is essential to any videos creator's kit. It stands up well over the years. I own 3 or 4 of these things. It works well indoors and outdoors. It'll hold up my fancy mirrorless camera and an iPhone, no big deal. I also tell my clients to try and keep 1 or 2 of these on hand because it is too big to travel with. If you want something more versatile, travelable, you can get a monopod option with tripod legs. I just bought a brand new Intertech monopod for $39, comes with the tripod legs, or you can get a smaller option for your desk. There's all kinds of little options on Amazon. You're also going to need a smartphone adapter. I love this Vastar model for $7.99. If you have a limited budget and you have to choose between lighting and sound, though, every live streamer on earth is going to tell you to pick sound. When I'm hosting a live event from home, I use my Audio-Technica AT2005 USB with my iPad. If you're using Switcher Studio or using it with your computer, you can use a USB-C connector to use this or any other fancy microphone you may already own. I did a ton of research on fancy microphones. This microphone with a boom arm is listed at $129. For me, this one gives you the best bang for your buck. For live events with guests, I have relied more on my set of Samson Go mics. These mics have really stood the test of time, and they work remarkably well. The mobile receiver plugs right into your iPad or iPhone. You can get audio from up to 2 microphones at once, which is great. Either 2 handheld mics, 2 lapel mics, or a combination. The battery-powered receiver and one additional microphone and one microphone will run you $170. The additional mic will run you about $68. My clients love these mics. They purchased them over the years, use them year round. I would say both the handheld and the lav work pretty much equally well. It just depends on which look you're looking for with your video. You can also adjust the gain in the microphone if you're having issues with the background noise. The other mic I have in my kit is a Rode Wireless Go mic. The live streaming community loves this mic. It's a little bit more expensive though. And I don't use it as much because I need 2 mics at the same time. But if you're just using one mic, this might be your best option. If these microphones are out of reach, almost any headset microphone or AirPods or even knockoff AirPods will work better than your native headset. Now let's talk light. Honestly, my biggest recommendation, if you can do it, is to take advantage of as much natural light as possible. I chose this apartment in large part because of the broad floor-to-ceiling windows and natural light that I rely upon for shooting video in my studio. If you could pull it off, creating video outdoors is a great option, not just because of the sunlight, but because of the awesome energy that being outside can bring. If you have to, you can plug in a Google Puck near the front door to your office, connect it to your Wi-Fi inside to extend your live streaming range. If you're stationary though, a ring light will be an awesome investment. You can browse through Amazon and find any ring light that fits the confines of your office. I've got this big one here, but I found they're pretty much all the same. You just need one that fits your personal comfort level. A ring light will make a big difference in the way your video looks, but like I said earlier, it is less important than the sound quality. A couple of my clients have also actually invested in these larger box lights, which I can't travel with. So if you're setting up a live stage or setting up interviewees around a table, larger box lights can bring a ton of value. And if you need a more mobile lighting solution, you can get a very powerful effect from a Litra Pro. In fact, this device is almost too powerful for many of my clients. Or you can find a nice smaller little clip-on ring light for your device. Finally, let's quickly talk cameras. My biggest recommendation is to use your phone. The newer your phone is, the better the camera will be. Now, I was going to talk a lot more about cameras, but my script was 2 minutes too long, so I had to cut this part out of the video because we're coming up right on 8 minutes. But I talk about a Panasonic G95 mirrorless camera, the benefits of purchasing additional iPhones, whether or not you need a stabilizer like the DJI Osmo Mobile. I'm going to post an extended version of this explainer video on my YouTube channel at Chris Strub because I've tried to squeeze in so much information into this video and I'm already over my time that I need to say thank you again, Julia and Tim. Check me out on social media at Chris Strub. Again, all of that hardware is available at strubstuff.com. And I wish you the best of luck during the holiday fundraising season. See you soon.
Hello, social media gurus, and welcome to today's session on 5 mindful tips to avoid social media manager burnout. So I know the last 18 months or so have been particularly challenging for many of us, that you're called on to do a whole lot of things, that you may be overwhelmed by the always on nature of your role. And I know as a former communications director myself, and so what I would like to do is to dive in and to really acknowledge, first of all, that the work that we're doing, we have continued to do even throughout the pandemic. And despite all the talk about things going back to quote unquote normal, returning to work, we know that the work has never stopped to simply change locations. And so with that in mind, I want to share with you 5 tips to really help you to deal with what you might be feeling in terms of overwhelm during this particular season in our life and in our work. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with what I would call a mindfulness icebreaker or an exercise. Take a moment to close your eyes if that feels right and feels comfortable for you. Taking a moment to take an upright and seated comfortable position that just feels good and feels right for the body. And taking one deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth with me as I guide us through that process, if it feels right for you. Let's get started here, breathing in fully and deeply, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Releasing all that tension, opening your eyes if you chose to close your eyes. And by now you should be ready to dive in. We're going to dive into those 5 tips. And those 5 tips are going to help us to shift from a mindless or a mindful place to a more mindful place. So let's go ahead and dive into those tips. The first tip here is all about knowing something that I call your social media number, right? So you are familiar with the sleep number bed where you have a number for your level of firmness. Your partner has their level of firmness. Well, what if you had a social media number? In other words, how many platforms can you reasonably and realistically manage at one time and do it well? Having the courage to say no to the things that don't actually meet your mission, that don't actually meet the moment right now. Being able to ask the question, is this platform actually necessary? Is it helping us to reach our goals, our mission? How much time per day and per week is it costing us? And what would it look like to be on all platforms in a mediocre way versus a few platforms and doing extremely well on those platforms? So knowing your social media number is the first tip I want to share with you today. The second tip is all about having a daily planning ritual, a daily planning or weekly planning ritual. And what does this mean? This means that we have a communication plan, we have a social media plan and a content strategy, but do we have a plan for our day-to-day work? This is all about setting clear intentions or being clear about what your intended outcome or your vision for success is for your day and for your week, and aligning your to-do list, your items with that, and plotting that against your calendar. Then using this as a guideline to get your work done, and not just the time that you're spending creating content or monitoring social media or engaging on social media, but all the other things that we know are on your plate as part of the work that you're doing to make things move and to make a difference with social media. And then using this to be flexible, because we know that things change, things come up. And so this is really a guideline, a framework to help make sure that you are staying on course and staying on mission. So the next one, the next tip here, number 3. Number 3 is all about creating what I would describe as our social media rules of engagement. One of the challenges with the pandemic is the uncertainty that is created. And one of the ways that we can deal with that is by actually addressing the assumptions head on, right? That means having an explicit conversation about when we're going to be on and off social media, when is the best time to reach us if something is urgent versus non-urgent, what actually constitutes urgency and non-urgency, right? What does that actually look like for us? And what are our expectations in terms of response times, right? Having these explicit conversations with our colleagues, with our stakeholders, with our funders, this can be a powerful way to really lower your anxiety level about feeling like you have to be on all the time. Because the truth is that you're having a human experience, and having a discussion on an ongoing basis using this framework, using these questions, recognizing that this might shift and change from season to season, but nonetheless, having this as an ongoing conversation makes things easier for all of us. Fourth tip here is all about turning on what I call your social media away message, right? So again, we can't be on all the platforms all the time. So what do, right? Turn on your social media away message. This is essentially an opportunity for you to indicate that, hey, I recognize that you might be looking for me on this platform right now. Right now, I am not on this platform, but if you need to reach me, you need to reach a member of my team, here's how you actually do that. I actually put up a social media away message on Facebook and on Twitter in 2018, and I've directed people to platforms that make more sense for my audience and for what I'm able to manage, right? I'm able to manage 2 platforms right now. That is LinkedIn and Instagram. That's where my audiences are. And that's also the set of platforms that actually work best for me in terms of my style and my approach. So think about what works best for you. Have the courage to put up that away message. This can be seasonal. This can be for a period of time, such as the holidays. Maybe you're taking a vacation, or maybe you just recognize that as an organization, you might want to be on certain platforms. You might want to have a presence, but right now you don't have the bandwidth to really fully maximize that. So having an away message can be a way to let people know that, hey, you're there, you're aware that people might be looking for you there, but hey, come join us over here because this is where we are right now. My last tip here for you, my last tip here is all about practicing social distancing. We've talked a lot about this in the context of protecting ourselves from the spread of disease and of the virus, COVID-19. But what if we applied the same framework to how we're thinking about social media and technology, right? So this means being conscious is about planning our time away from social media, both personally and professionally. So when during your day and during your week are you going to actually have unplugged time so that you have time to do those non-social media related tasks on your to-do list, and also to have time for yourself to pour into yourself? When are you scheduling that vacation time, for example? We have the holidays coming up. Doing things like adjusting your do not disturb notifications or turning off your notifications at certain times so that you're able to get work done when you are not on social media, right? And turning those back on when you need to be engaged and be aware of what's happening. So practicing social distancing. So my invitation for you is to just pick one thing to start with. What's one thing you're going to try? One thing you're going to actually implement in order to be more mindful with your approach to social media, and so that you are also putting yourself in a position where you are avoiding social media manager burnout. If you're interested in taking this a step further, you're just curious about where you might want to start, perhaps, I would like to invite you to download your free work-life, tech-life balance assessment at mindfultechie.com/free. Absolutely free tool that you can download to get a sense of where you are, where to start, and where to go from here. And of course, I'm going to leave you with my contact information. And also just a reminder, as you think about all the things we just talked about in the moments that we've had together, I want you to consider and to ensure that with everything that you're doing, that you're being intentional and that you are aligning it with the mission, the why that you're doing what you're doing. You are doing great work out in the world. You're making a difference. You're making an impact. And I want you to keep that front and center always. So thank you for your time and attention. And I look forward to hearing from you and learning how you are taking a more mindful approach to your social media management.